Yesterday in Washington, D.C., 2 National Guards were culturally enriched, and I have to say that I absolutely have a severe case of the usual suspects fatigue. Well, I covered this tragic story yesterday, as well as the reactions of all the leftists celebrating the killing of these 2 completely innocent National Guardsmen who were in Washington, D.C., stopping crime, which they successfully did, for the record. Crime in Washington, D.C. is incredibly down. The leftists essentially all blame Trump. They said, well, Trump shouldn't have put them there, or they wouldn't be dead if not for Trump. And possibly one of the, it's so nice that they're dead now because they're fascist Nazis, and also Trump put them there, so we could blame him. In honestly, some of the most mask-off moment I think I've seen on the internet since the assassination of Charlie Kirk in front of his family. And this will undoubtedly radicalize a generation. Well, I'm making this follow-up video because it's actually a lot wilder than expected, so you should definitely subscribe because I'm going to be on top of this story as well as all the other stories, but I'm going to be racist about it. Because we finally released a lot of information about the person that actually was this terrorist that killed these innocent people. And let's just say I was right. You're going to have to put another penny in the Nux was right again jar. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be that guy. So obviously the leftoid freakazoids decided to pop out saying, breaking, new image shows the suspect in the National Guard shooting doesn't appear to be black, trans, or immigrant. How will MAGA spin this? It just looks like a classic straight white male. Wow. How is MAGA going to spin this into somehow being a political issue? As if white people can't be leftist, communist terrorists. The community note. The suspect is a confirmed Afghan national, which makes him an immigrant. When I say it's every time, it's every time. MAGA doesn't need to spin anything because it just kind of seems like MAGA's right. That's right. This dude was culturally enriching the United States, and then he decided to murder 2 innocent people. Trump made an announcement about planning on re-vetting all Afghan immigrants coming into the country or that are in this country because there are 60,000 Afghans that were literally that immigrated into America in 2021 under Biden. We have a lot to look at today because it turns out the goats actually called this forever ago. Obviously, you have some people that are like giant Islam suckers that are like, well, actually, we can blame the Jews. We can blame the Jews on this one. Actually, I don't know. I feel like this Muslim guy is getting a bad rep. He killed 2 innocent people. We have a lot to look at today. All right, the leftoids freaking out. It's honestly a nightmare. It's a real nightmare situation, and we're gonna actually do our best to make the best of an awful nightmare situation. So obviously, the leftoid classics. We haven't heard a single thing about the shooter in custody, which means it's a white man. Not a white man. Pretty weird. Turns out it's a 29-year-old shooter known as Rahmanwala Langkangwal. Sounds like your classic straight white male, if you ask me. An Afghan national shot 2 National Guard members is reported to have entered the United States under the Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome, a program created to resettle Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Yeah, that's right. You thought Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan was absolutely humiliating? You were right. But for more ways than you even knew. Not just was it humiliating that we left there in shambles, but we also literally imported a bunch of them into our country to kill us on our turf. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that great, guys? Wow, classic. Hell yeah, dude. Thanks, Biden. We're going to look at his freak-out speech after this. But this was the announcement that the killer actually is an Afghan radical Muslim.
We've seen a difference in Washington, D.C. Crime is down
Hold on,
significantly.
Chairman, hold on. We just got this. I need to get to it. This just in, sources are telling Fox News that the shooter is an illegal immigrant from Afghanistan.
Wow! And look at this dude just like rolling his eyes because we all know that there's an issue here. We've all been screaming that this is going to happen. And of course it happened. Of course it happened.
And during Operation Allies Welcome under the Biden administration. And he overstayed that visa. All right, Chairman. So
it's
Fox
so
News
frustrating
is learning that this person.
It's so frustrating. I don't want to be right. I really don't. I really want the guys that are chanting death to America to actually not want to kill Americans. All right? This is the nuclear hot take. When I see someone chant death to America, I would love for that guy to actually secretly be a giant America admirer. Unfortunately, I have a little thing called a brain, and it operates on clearly a higher level than the inbred, retarded honestly propagandized troglodytes that are coming out of these colleges that are telling me how I'm actually just being racist.
Was here illegally, overstayed his visa.
Well, if we would have been a little more racist, these 2 National Guards would not be dead today.
And that's who this shooter profile is. What?
Radical Muslim, illegal immigrant. It's like, it's insane that we need to live like this, man. I told you in my last video, toss a coin. It's either going to be a communism or a Muslim. And I hate that this is the reality that we're living in, man.
What's your immediate reaction?
Well, my immediate reaction is we tried desperately to get an accounting of all the people.
The immediate reaction is, yeah, obviously. Tragically, but obviously.
That came from Afghanistan to the United States during that disastrous withdrawal during the Biden administration. That was a huge priority for the House Oversight Committee. We never got that information.
Lux, you hate Muslims? No, I'm just not a fan of Islam. I don't hate Muslims as an individual, obviously, but I don't think we needed to import 60,000 Afghan people into our country without even vetting them, bro.
Never allowed to get that information because I don't think the government had any idea. I don't think they kept an accurate accounting. And if they did, I think they realized there were probably lots of gaps. We were told there were going to be.
This dude's illegal here. Like, there's no reason for us to need illegals in our country. It's literally the most obvious thing in the world, and this really is radicalizing people, because a lot of people don't read the news, okay? A lot of people don't actually think it through. It's like, if we have 30 million illegals in our country, that actually will make there be less available houses, which would increase the housing prices. That would cause a housing crisis. Wow, we can't really get jobs, but there are 30 million illegal immigrants that are taking jobs here that I could get if it wasn't for them. In fact, they would bump up the prices of American workers that now they can afford to just fire them and replace them with illegals, that they could pay the bare minimum. It actually turns out that this solves a lot of issues. And, they'll call you racist if you say that. They'll ban you. They'll censor you. They'll slander you. But they can't call you a liar.
About 2,000 people that had worked with our military as people that tried to help with the cause, to help protect our troops in Afghanistan.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, there were closer to 100,000. But we don't know what that number was, and I don't think the government has kept good track of it. And I'm sure there were mistakes that were made.
Yeah, I'm sure there were mistakes that were made. At least 2. Insane, man. So this was my video from yesterday where I actually covered what happened. All right. Now, again, I don't want to be that guy and pat myself on the back too hard, but it turns out when you're always right, it's a blessing and a curse. A religion this man is part of. I will leave that to my audience. Bet you $5 on Polychart that this dude said Allahu Akbar before he shot those guys, though. So that was the $5 bet that was taken in holy matrimony. LE sources in D.C. tells me National Guardsman shooting suspect Afghan national used a revolver. The suspect reportedly shouted Allahu Akbar. I literally hate the fact that I pre-watch reality sometimes, man. It's insane. A National Guardsman who was not armed with a firearm used a pocket knife to stab the suspect. Truly tragic. Another guardsman responded to the gunfire and shot him multiple times. Suspect reportedly shouted Allahu Akbar. Listen, it's crazy, man. It's crazy, dude. This is happening way too often, and the media is trying their absolute best to squash it. Trump tweeted, "The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded, but regardless will pay a very steep price. Public execution. God bless our great National Guard, all our military law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you." I can't believe I guessed it right. I mean, I guessed it because obviously I thought that was going to be the case, but still, man. Still, it's when it's this obvious, you wonder why the people in power don't see it. And then you realize that the people in power do see it, and you just have 2 parties. You have the cuck party that sees it and refuses to do anything about it, and then you have the party that literally is trying their absolute best to enable more of this, because this is their plan at a hostile takeover. Obviously, the way the media covered this was an absolute travesty.
But of course, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing masks. And so
this is the worst clip ever.
You don't know people walking around with uniforms in an American city. There are some Americans that might object to that.
There's controversy around ICE officers that are doing their legal jobs. And ICE officers wear uniforms. Also, National Guards wear uniforms, and people are unhappy, so that's why it's okay to kill them. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much, media. You should all be in jail for inciting violence. This is crazy. It's crazy. How is this literally in the mainstream media? Of course, CNN blamed Trump.
Both of them were critically wounded and are in separate hospital around the D.C. area, and saying that the third person who shot at the National Guardsman is also severely wounded. Part of the reason that they have been tracking this so closely is because President Trump has been really adamant about bringing the National Guard to Washington, D.C.
This is literally proof that you need the National Guard at Washington, D.C. You have terrorists wandering around shooting people.
For months as part of a severe crime crackdown. And I do want to note here.
Which worked, for the record. The crackdown worked.
Any moment we expect to see Vice President J.D. Vance, who was already going to be delivering remarks at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. This was part of a Thanksgiving trip that he was doing.
Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, guys. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Remember to thank God for putting you in the position that you are in the time that you are. Thank God for all the amazing things that we have in our lives. And also pray to God that we could thank God for even more things next year. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. CNN says that it's Trump's fault for putting the National Guard there. That's why they were killed. And again, all the leftist pundits do the same thing. This is Don Lemon.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that...
For the record, this is not a thing that happens. No one's getting taken away as a citizen without due process. It's literally a lie that he's fabricating, pushing on people, telling them to arm themselves. Where do you think this is going to end up, man?
What the Second Amendment was written for.
Right. Classic Don Lemon saying the federal officers are doing their duty, which is a legal thing that they're doing. They're not coming after citizens, but I'm going to say that they are anyway, without due process, to make it feel like they're coming for you so that hopefully you can kill some of them. That's my interpretation. I think he wanted a couple of these National Guards dead. So, I mean, Don Lemon got what he wanted. Like, there's no other way to interpret this plausibly. And I'm so tired of people trying their absolute best to dance around the subject matter. And you have the leftoid retards. This is so tragic, so unnecessary. These poor guardsmen should have never been deployed. It's Trump's fault. I live in D.C., watched as they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. It was a political show, and at what cost? No, it's the shooter's fault for shooting the National Guard. It's not Trump's fault for getting the National Guard to arrest criminals. Hello? Hello? Literally, what are we doing? But this is the leftist mind. So Senator Jeff Merkley tweeted right after 2 National Guard was shot. Do you know what he tweets? And this is one of the most mind-blowing things of all time that he actually decided to do this. President Trump is out of control. He's snatching people off the streets, deporting them without due process. He's using research grants, security clearances, and broadcast licenses to harass and influence universities, law firms, and networks. I don't even think that's true. He's illegally canceling programs fully authorized and funded by the law. This literally never even happened. He's blowing up boats, murdering the crews with no evidence they're carrying drugs. This is also a lie. Of course there's evidence they're carrying drugs. He is seeking to federalize and deploy the National Guard against peaceful citizens with fake claims of rebellion or invasion. The guy was literally killed by a radical Muslim from Afghanistan that was illegal in the country. So, like, debunked on that one. So no, he is not doing it against peaceful citizens. He's ordering the Department of Justice to target perceived political enemies. No, he's ordering the Department of Justice to arrest terrorists and treasonous bastards. He is filling government websites and public announcements with partisan propaganda. You mean like every single president did in the history of America? To try to win the next election. He is rigging the next election with gerrymandered congressional districts and nationalized voter registration database. For the record, it's the Democrats that does the vast majority of gerrymandering. Now he's issuing death threats. And no, he's not. He's mentioning the fact that it is a very good idea to actually potentially give the death penalty to people that commit treason against our country, not a death threat, and demanding investigations into members of Congress based, if they're terrorists or whatever, we should absolutely investigate them, who remind military the responsibility to ignore illegal orders. That's not what they did. They implied that the president gave illegal orders. He's destroying our freedom and our republic. Essentially, you're calling him a Nazi, a fascist, yada, yada. He must be stopped. What do you do? How do you stop him? What's the solution here? Every citizen must protest, and every member of Congress must obstruct his authoritarian assault on our nation. I love how he uses the word obstruct, because he's literally doing everything legally. So if you're obstructing justice, then you should go to jail for obstruction of justice. Presidents are not kings. We know that's why he was elected by the majority of the people. The Constitution is not optional. We know that's why he was following the law and elected by the majority of people, and literally fuck you. And he releases this post right after 2 National Guard are killed. After, not moments before, that you could like tie this to some sort of incitement or anything. No. Literally after 2 people are killed, this dude decided to post this, and he got absolutely eviscerated in the replies. Look at this. 4.4K replies, 5,000 likes. Like, he's getting annihilated because, bro, you just had 2 people get killed and you're like, we have to fight back harder? Are you endorsing this? Are you like silently endorsing this kind of thing? You got Ed Faggotstein, one of the, radical leftoids on the internet. If they weren't on duty there, raking leaves and standing in front of federal buildings for no good reasons, this wouldn't have happened. It was Trump's stupid political stunt teamed up with another lunatic killer that led to this. Enough is enough, rip. In regards to what Vance is saying here.
Apparently there was a shooting outside the White House just a couple of hours ago, and we're still learning everything. We still don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out.
We don't know the motive,
What we do know
guys.
is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty.
And tragically killed.
And first of all, I want everybody who's a person of faith to say a prayer for those 2 National Guardsmen, that they're able to spend Thanksgiving with their families instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. But I think it's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, our soldiers are the sword and the shield of the United States of America.
True.
And as a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the United States Army, let me just say very personally, thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful to them, and we're praying that they're going to be safe and they're going to spend Thanksgiving with their families. God bless them.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. No, I have nothing but respect for our law enforcement, our police officers, our ICE agents, our soldiers. Again, they're putting their lives on the line for our country, and there's nothing more, honestly, honorable than that. It's insane, and they deserve to be treated with the utmost respect. Instead, they're vilified by the media. They're hated by the people, as they're taught by their colleges. We're importing people that directly want to kill them because of some ancient blood feud or whatever, and that's where we're at. So Ed over here, leftoid, retard extraordinaire, decides if they weren't there, they wouldn't be killed. It's Trump's political stunt. Again, blaming Trump for the murder of these innocent people, when in reality it was very much everyone except for Trump. Vance tweeted, I remember back in 2021, criticizing the Biden policy of opening the floodgate to unvetted Afghan refugees. Friends sent me messages calling me a racist. It was a clarifying moment. Dude, I've come to realize every time I'm called a racist, it's just because I'm right about something and they have no actual rebuttal. So they just call you a racist in order to get away from that. They shouldn't have been in our country. Completely true. Many of our voters will demand not just words, but action. True! And this is an entirely appropriate response. We will bring the shooter to justice, and then we will redouble our efforts to deport people who had no right to be in our country. Already, some voices in corporate media chirp over immigration policies are too harsh. Tonight is a reminder of why they're wrong. Completely true. I think Vance is probably the #1 guy with a finger on the pulse of what's the American people are thinking. Literally, unironically, the #1 example of this in the entire country, in the entire government, rather. He's on point. Him and Stephen Miller, I think, are so on point as to what the average American guy is thinking about. It's insane. And he's completely right here. He's completely and utterly correct. Dude, friends sent me messages calling me I'm racist. It was a clarifying moment. What an absolute banger line. True. You could call me racist. You just can't call me wrong. I really feel like that this keeps getting justified more and more. Last month in the UK, an Afghan stabbed Wayne Broadhurst to death while he was walking his dog. Today, an Afghan shot 2 National Guardsmen in the United States. In the last 10 years, Afghans have committed 108,409 serious offenses in Germany. In just Germany! We don't have to live like this, man. We don't have to live like this. There is no reason to import them. What? Hello? What are we doing? Like, I literally don't understand. It's absolute insanity. And it's such a clown show because, like, we're told that we're the bad guy for not wanting to import people that directly incentivize and essentially speed run the destruction of our civilization. It's like, yeah, no, actually, I really don't want to destroy our civilization with our own two hands by importing people that want to kill us, actually. I know, this might be difficult to understand, but this is my incredibly hot take of the day. Harry Pisson tweets, Donald Trump approved the D.C. shooter's asylum request in April. MAGA spent all day blaming Joe Biden and the Democrats. Maybe they should look at their own guy. It is their own fault. And he's an idiot. The president doesn't approve asylum cases. The judiciary does. The same judiciary that has been actively working against the president since he took office. This is the basics. Stop lying. And obviously that is correct. I mean, Trump wants to deport all the illegals. This guy was illegal. He didn't get deported. We know who's fighting for them. So here was an interesting twist, an interesting wrinkle that's worth thinking about. This Ranwala Lankankwal, or whatever his name is, the Afghan terrorist who shot the National Guardsman, actually worked with the CIA as a member of a partner force in Afghanistan, according to the CIA Director Radcliffe. This is crazy. Again, that means the CIA absolutely knew about all this stuff. Maybe not this specific incident. Maybe yes about this specific incident. But they did know that this dude was around. They knew who he was. They knew he was illegal. They kept him around. Why? Why? Do they actually want this to happen? Are there actually some nefarious organization of retards that kind of secretly want our destruction a little bit? That want this infinite globalization, culturally enriching the world by killing our people? I'm sure all the young girls in England that are victim of grooming gangs feel really enriched right about now. And we're just 10 years away from where England's at, unless we actually turn this clock around and stop this. Now, obviously, the moment this came out, Nick Fuentes, very popular, very right-wing streamer guy, he had a pretty wild take. We're not going to watch his entire video. It's about 10 minutes long on this one topic. On this, not just the National Guard topic. He spent like 2 hours on that. But on this one analysis, he spent like 10 minutes. And we're only going to watch about a minute of it. But yeah, obviously, this is the direction he takes it.
Who is this guy? It begs the question, did they put him up to this? If he was being handled by the U.S. military, what is their responsibility in all this? Because you do hear about false flags, and you do hear about these kinds of things.
False flag.
And right now, it is true that there's a lot of chaos and violence in the Middle East.
All right.
It's also true that Israel and the United States have far-reaching geopolitical ambitions there.
Bro, this guy didn't murder 2 National Guards because the United States and Israel have geopolitical ambitions. Okay, I'm just saying, man. Yeah, sure, whatever. That's not why this guy killed 2 National Guards. Like, what are we doing? Literally, what are we doing? I could give you 5 more, way more plausible reasons as to why this guy actually went ahead and did what he did. The endless demonization of these people by the media, talking about how they're going after every brown person to deport them. I don't know, the Muslim Brotherhood's 100-year plan of conquering the United States through importing and outbreeding. Maybe he was just a very radical Muslim guy who actually followed the word of his book very literally when it said, strike the kafir at the neck and kill him. I just feel like jumping to the fact that Israel commanded this guy to kill 2 National Guards because of their geopolitical conquest in the Middle East. Definitely a leap. The reality is the Biden administration imported 60,000+ people that they knew would cause destruction in our country, and they didn't care. For whatever reason, their strategy was, I don't know, that big game, sure. This individual instance, nightmare world. In fact, this Biden thing was so suspicious. Here was an email obtained by this Hawley character a while back, showing that the Biden administration ordered him to fill up planes with Afghan refugees, even without vetting them. Troops on the ground said that they were shocked by Biden's failure to vet these Afghans before bringing them into our country. I think this is treason, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not trying to get controversial or anything, but I feel like this is direct treason. You are literally importing 60,000 people without vetting them from a country that hates us, that wants to kill us, whose religion, when taken radically, also directly wants to kill us. All right? Like, I'm not trying to jump over any heads over here or anything. It literally says in the book, kill the Jews, kill the Christians, to conquer the world. And we're like, yo, let's import the most radical form of this religion. But look at this sentence. Total inflow to the U.S. must exceed number of seats available. Error on the side of excess. Literally stuff planes full of unvetted people and bring them in. How is this not treason? Oh my God. Now, as we know, growing fears, child brides brought to the U.S. in Afghan evacuation. I mean, why would there be a fear if children could get married in Afghanistan? Don't we want to enrich ourselves with their culture? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Elderly Afghan men were permitted to evacuate with young girls they claimed as wives. So we are being so accepting of their culture, we are literally importing unvetted 60-year-olds with their 10-year-old wives into America. Bro, what are we doing? This is just sex trafficking. This is just Biden permitted alleged sex trafficking. Like, what are we talking about? It's like you read this and you really wonder what was going through their head. We were collaborating very closely with the State Department to identify any child welfare issues that are identified on the basis of where the Afghani guests are staying. So when we are notified of a case, we look into that specific case history, the age of the child, the length of the marriage. They're calling them children that are married, but they're like, all right, so this 12-year-old was technically married for 3 years already, so we're going to let her in order to determine if there's a risk to child safety. When we have experienced caseworkers, we're making this case-by-case recommendations. Like, could you imagine a reality where the Biden administration is like, all right, so we want to respect their culture, so we're going to let them in with their child brides. This will definitely not impact America at all. Now, I've said for a very, 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 very long time, some cultures are inferior to other cultures, and the ones that are inferior are not the ones that I want to flood mine. No, I'm saying, I know, this is kind of a hot take. I kind of don't want my neighbor to literally be a pedophile, like a legalized pedophile, a grandfathered in, indoctrinated pedophile. Just don't want that in my neighborhood, I'll be honest. Especially one that also holds the belief that you could rape non-Muslim children legally. All right, according to their value systems, all right, which is done by Afghan groups in Germany and in England. So again, I'm not, this is obviously not an every Muslim thing, obviously, but specifically radicals do believe this. They believe it is perfectly legal according to their Sharia law to go ahead and do something like that. I personally don't want that to be my neighbor. I know. This is so racist of me. So racist to not want your daughter to get raped by your 60-year-old neighbor. I know, it's crazy to even think about this because of the level of racism that I'm exhibiting right now. So this is Joe Biden.
We've done so much to help thousands of Afghan families resettle in the United States.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, bro, for importing people that want us dead. Very cool. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, man. Very awesome. So this is Jen Psaki in 2021, right after Biden did that. She was Biden's press secretary, and this was her analysis. And I'm very looking forward to hear her apology.
You've talked about this a little bit, others have as well, but there are, of course, concerns among lawmakers, experts who've tracked this. They're saying previous arrivals of large numbers of refugees from different parts of the world, inevitably there may be a small handful who are eventually deemed a security risk of some kind. What reassurances can you make about the screening process and the attempts to make sure that somebody like that doesn't make his or her way here?
I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and
This is what we call a lie.
Background check process. And
did you do a background check on this guy?
There are many individuals, as you noted, who have not been through that process, and they have gone to lily pad countries as that process has been completed. It doesn't mean that that's because there's a flag. It means they have not completed.
Which is why the emails that were literally leaked directly say, don't vet them, just stuff the planes full of them.
Did their paperwork.
Again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, but this was a deliberate attempt to conquer our country. Again, and obviously they will forever vote left. It's almost like you're packing the country with voters to try to vote for you forever, and you don't care about the fact that the population is literally going to implode.
We were working to save tens of thousands of people, hence we evacuated them to these third countries.
And then
Thanks, America. Thanks, America, for starting shit and then deciding you need to save all the people that you started shit for. So let's circle back on that. Let's circle back on this one, Jen Psaki. Can we get an apology? Can we get an update? Apparently your vetting wasn't very good. So in 2021, this was Trump. Once again, remember, Trump was not the president at the time. I mean, whether he won the election or not, that's up for debate, but he was not the president at this time. And this is what he had to say in 2021 about the Afghans.
And nobody knows who the hell they are, Cheryl. These aren't the interpreters that we talked. These were people that rushed into the planes And they were so interested in trying to make it sound like, oh, they're doing a good job. These people, many of these people are going to be terrorists, okay? They're going to be terrorists.
They called him racist for this. He was right. Many such cases.
They were very powerful. They were very energetic in getting onto the aircraft.
Yeah.
They say they're vetting them very carefully with biometrics and documentation.
They're not doing that, and you can't because there is no documentation in that country now.
Correct! Wow, he was completely right. That's crazy. I wonder why he won this election. So, J.D. Vance, for the record, this was a shocker. J.D. Vance made this tweet in 2021 as well. Let's just say, boy's been cooking on this topic for a while.
I see that Senator Ben Sasse went on national TV yesterday and attacked me for suggesting we should focus on getting our own citizens out of Afghanistan rather than the Afghan refugees.
True.
And he said great countries honor their word. Of course, nobody disagrees with that. It's a ridiculous platitude. The question is not whether we honor our word. The question is who have we made promises to? Who do we owe an obligation towards?
Yeah.
And to any leader of this country, the obvious answer should be American citizens.
No! What? No! Again, it's like so obvious, but for some reason, the other guys don't see it this way.
So let's focus first on getting them out of Afghanistan before we say another word about the Afghan refugees. Now, Senator Sasse also said that he would welcome the Afghan refugees to his neighborhood with open arms. That's very sweet of him. I'm sure a lot of liberals will say
what a lovely guy.
Very nice things about him. Because
all these liberals are so nice that they decided to open the doors of, well, their neighbors to Afghan refugees. Honestly, what a huge W.
He said that. But the question is not whether we help the Afghan refugees. The question is, first, how do we do it? And second, how do we do it in a way that doesn't destroy our own sovereignty?
True.
So let's have an honest question about what exists in Afghanistan. According to Pew, 40% of the people there believe that blowing yourself up, committing a suicide bombing, is an acceptable way to solve a problem.
Fact check. True. I don't think this is something that we can actually have in our culture. So for the record, this Afghan guy that, you know, he's probably going to end up dying to his injuries or whatever, that killed these two National Guard, in his mind, he did a wonderful thing. And honestly, I'm sure he's being celebrated right now. I'm sure he is being celebrated and venerated right now, where a bunch of people, that 40% of Afghans, are telling their children, that guy's a hero. That dude got heaven in one moment by getting himself killed to kill two Americans. And you know that this is true. You know what I'm saying is true if you've actually followed this culture at all.
So yes, let's help the Afghans who helped us, but let's ensure that we're properly vetting them so that we don't get a bunch of people who believe they should blow themselves up at a mall because somebody looked at their wife the wrong way. That is not real leadership. Real leadership is accepting the trade-offs of the situation, putting our own citizens first, and not dealing with fake platitudes because it gets people in the media to say nice things about you.
And they called him racist for this. And he was completely right. Many such cases. Wow. So J.D. Vance also decided to tweet out this Fox News. This was back before Tucker Carlson became pro-Islam. Still a shock to me that this happened. But after Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox News, he became pro-Islam. He decided to talk about how actually Islam is a good thing and Sharia law is actually a good thing. Oh, you don't wait, you don't believe me? You don't know about this? Bro, I feel like every time I say this, I have a new guy in my comments like, what? Oh, Tucker Carlson doesn't believe that. So yeah, here's Tucker Carlson talking about why Sharia law is actually a good thing.
Well, you should know, Seth, that the real danger is Sharia law. Sharia law. And you can tell when you go to a place like Abu Dhabi or Riyadh, like, oh man, I hope we don't ever wind up with a society like this with a rape rate of 0 where you leave your...
For the record, the reason why the rape rate is 0 is because no rapes are reported because nothing's counted as rape. And if you actually rape somebody, then the woman that got raped gets executed for infidelity. So that's why there's a rape rate of 0 because obviously no woman is going to come out and claim that she got raped when the punishment of getting raped is death. So yeah, anyway, that's a pretty hot take.
Keys in your Lamborghini and don't ever worry about it being stolen. And, you know, if people want to get wasted, they do it at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you would get executed if you, or, you know, caned or jailed if you, you know, drink in public. But also because there's slave labor there. So therefore you could leave your Lamborghini out there with their keys in the wheel. Yeah, we know. We know the slaves keep the country operating very nicely.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh boy, I hope we don't wind up with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, I mean, Sharia law is obviously just a punchline. I don't know that too many people actually believe in the reality of that. And I mean,
2 billion Muslims believe in Sharia law. I don't know. I don't even know what the point of this is. Like, unless you're literally just existing to whitewash this stuff.
Like I said, you know, I'm a lawyer. I actually studied legal philosophy. Right. Sharia is not that different from other legal codes.
Yeah, except in Sharia, it's legal to murder Christians. Because they're Christians and they believe in Jesus as a divine being, and believing Jesus is divine is blasphemy according to Islam, and that person is a kafir and you have to execute him. But anywho, not the point. It's just like any other legal code. So anyway, this is Tucker Carlson now. By the way, this is the Muslim Brotherhood retweeting Tucker Carlson. I don't know how this keeps happening, man, but something's changed. Anyway, this was Tucker Carlson back in 2021 when during the Afghan invasion that we're dealing with the fallout from right now.
So we know a lot of Afghan refugees are coming here. How many exactly? Where are they going? How are they being processed when they get here? We have answers to some of those questions tonight. Here's what we've learned from government sources. Dulles Airport right outside Washington is a main welcoming site for flights landing at all hours of the day filled with Afghan refugees. As of this morning, just under 3,700 men from Afghanistan have been processed at Dulles. One recent flight landed there with nearly 200 evacuees. Homeland Security officials are currently discussing opening similar sites at other airports around the country. DHS has also been soliciting volunteers to staff its processing centers overseas. There are currently 3 of those that are vetting refugees in Bahrain, Qatar, and Germany. The administration is planning to open 4 other overseas processing sites. DHS's goal, it says, is to process 10,000 refugees every day at many of these overseas locations.
Let's bring in 10,000 of these a day. Huge W. Let's go. Let's get enriched, baby.
So we reached out to DHS for comment on Friday. A spokesman there said that they are, quote, working around the clock to ensure individuals are screened against U.S. government databases prior to arriving in the U.S. and upon arrival.
The screening is if the government has past information that they're a bad guy. That's literally all the screening that they did.
The people who had no idea the Taliban were going to take Kabul in a weekend. What will happen? Well, their attitudes, a lot of good people, but are very different from those of most Americans. A new poll by Pew found that 99% of Afghan Muslims support, for example, enacting Sharia law.
This is back when he thought Sharia law being enacted in the United States was actually a bad thing.
So many Republicans in Congress have no problem with this at all. In fact, some of those want us to evacuate Afghans from Kabul before we get all Americans, citizens, out of the country. One of those Republicans, not surprisingly, is Ben Sasse of Nebraska, the single guiltiest white man in America. Sasse said over the weekend that we need to take in as many refugees as possible because America has given its word. He didn't say to whom. J.D. Vance is putting a finer point on that. He's running for Senate from Ohio. He joins us tonight to respond.
And he actually won! And now he's the Vice President of the United States. Wow, it's crazy. I'm really glad that the good guys win whenever the good guys win. It's rare. It's rare when the good guys win, but, you know, when it happens, it's pretty freaking nice. God has a plan here. I feel like God's really putting all the pieces together. He has his plan. One of the plans apparently was the bad guys importing infinite people that want to kill us.
To attack Ben Sasse, but there is this kind of mode of communication that a certain sort of person uses to communicate that rather than explaining.
This is back when it was racist to say we don't want infinite people from degenerate cultures to come to ours. This was back when that was considered racist. You're not allowed to say that.
Why it's...
Man, am I so happy we're not in 2021 anymore.
In the interest of the country to do something, they just sort of attempt to seize the moral high ground and then lecture you because they have unresolved emotional problems themselves. How do you respond to Ben Sasse's claim that we have a moral obligation to do this?
Well, I'm happy to attack Ben Sasse, Tucker, and if folks want to help our campaign, by the way, they can go to jdvance.com. But look, Ben Sasse speaks in platitudes. There's no substance in what he actually says. So he says that we gave our word. Well, who did we give our word to? Where is this contract that says that we have to take tens of thousands of poorly vetted Afghan refugees at the height of chaos?
Correct.
The person who made that contract, who signed that contract, would be a terrible negotiator. I know that Donald Trump didn't do it. Did Joe Biden do it? Did somebody else do it? Because we should be putting the interests of our own citizens first. And if our government's making promises to other people, to other refugees,
he's right.
Then let's be honest.
JD48, JDV 48, JDV 48. It's happening. It's happening.
About it, but stop with these ridiculous platitudes because they don't actually mean anything unless there's substance behind it.
Like, what are the promises that our government makes to the American public? So 70,000 people die of drug ODs. The FDA made that possible by approving all this poison into rural America. Was that a violation of a promise that our government...
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. The entire Biden administration was a fever dream. It feels like a fever dream. It's like Trump was president, Trump was president, Trump was president. The Dark Ages. Trump was president, Trump is president. I really feel like this is kind of how it's been happening. It's shocking to me that we survived this. All right? And realistically, I don't know if we'll survive the next one. This is crazy. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to think that this was like part of the legislature. Yeah, let's import 60,000 people that weren't vetted that very likely want to kill us. What?
What made us? I mean, what are we guaranteed by the U.S. government? Any idea?
Like, we don't know how good we have it. That's why every single person that's like, oh, I was betrayed by Trump because of one point that I really hate. Remember the alternative. Remember the alternative just for a second, okay? Vetting and introducing 10,000 Afghans a day into American civilization without really vetting them, just kind of stuffing planes full of them, unironically. Like, it's in their email. They would stuff planes and bring them in. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. God bless President Donald J. Trump. He saved our country. All right, and realistically, I have my points of contention with the guy. I don't agree with the H-1B visa thing. I don't like the 50-year mortgage idea. All right, I think the Epstein files situation could have been handled better. But the reality, even though notice how the Democrats aren't talking about Epstein anymore because it turns out Trump was right and his inclusion was a hoax in actuality. But the reality is, God bless this man. Trump dodged a bullet, and so did the country.
Yeah, exactly. The Constitution really is a compact between our government and our citizens about what the government owes us. And just think about these ridiculous politicians. Unfortunately, too many Republicans who say things like, well, we want all of these Afghan refugees in our neighborhood. I mean, who really believes that?
Like, dude, it's the thing that you say not to be called racist. It's the thing that you say so that CNN calls you a good boy, so that people on Twitter don't actually decide that they want to harass you, right? No one believes this. Literally, no one actually believes this. And it's insane to me to think about how suicidally empathetic someone needs to be to actually be like, you know what? I would prefer to live among Afghans than, I don't know, my own ethnic group or however I grew up or something like that. Like, it is such a far from reality statement. No one actually believes this.
You cited the Pew Research poll. Another finding from that poll suggests that 40% of Afghan refugees, 40% of Afghans believe that suicide bombing is a reasonable way to solve a problem. Who wants people like that in their community? Of course, 60% of Afghans...
It's like, listen, all people are just people. Don't be racist. All cultures are the same. All people are people. Yes, statistically, these people would literally blow themselves up if it means they can kill you. Yes, they believe in industrialized child rape. But I really don't think it's going to make a difference. Why are you judging them? Why are you judging them?
Don't believe that, but when you're not vetting people properly, you're going to get a lot of bad people in your communities. So let's just be honest about the fact that if we want to have a real country, we need to make sure that good people are coming into this country. There are ways to help the Afghans who really did help our military without sending tens of thousands of unvetted people into our country. And the fact that our politicians aren't honest about that trade-off suggests they're either hiding something.
We're literally being overrun by hooligans. I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to politics throughout the United States lately, but from New York to Minnesota to Dearborn, Michigan, bro, now in Washington. Bro.
Or they're just stupid. Either way, it's not very good.
But I don't want to be called a racist, so therefore I'm going to open the floodgates to the orcs. Yeah, thanks. Very cool.
Well, they don't care about the details because they don't care about the country. That's, I think, the answer. If you treated your kids...
Damn, I miss this Tucker Carlson.
It's like this, and sort of anyone could share their bedroom, your kids would know you don't really love them. And I think that we should take that same... lesson. JD Vance.
All right, if you don't want your child to get married by a 60-year-old Afghan, I personally don't think we should be importing infinite people from that culture. On an individual level, I'm sure a lot of them are very nice. Culturally speaking, I don't want infinite Afghans in my neighborhood. I just don't, actually. So, if you remember, in 2021, the Mayorkas admitted that the 60,000 Afghans brought into the country after botched withdrawal were not given in-person vetting interviews. Now, this is where the scam really gets heavy. So they imported people that want us dead, but the real twist is they say they vetted them, but in reality, well, they vetted them a lot like how kids had school during COVID. not in-person vetting, and also not very successful vetting.
The standard procedure is an in-person interview for refugees or visa applicants. Now, you've testified.
Yeah, this is how it works. You say, sir, it says according to these stats, 40% of you would believe that you would blow yourself up if it means you could take some of us with you. Do you actually believe that? No, not at all. Not at all. I would never do anything like it. No. I don't even know what accent that was, I'll be real. It was like a mix between my Canadian and Scottish accents. Two different areas completely overrun by people due to suicidal empathy. Congratulations, you've fallen. America's the last bastion of freedom out here. But the reality is, no, me? Blow myself? I would never blow myself. I would never blow myself. Okay, you hear me? You hear me? That's why I have a 10-year-old wife. To blow me instead. I would never blow myself. That's what he probably said, and then they stamped his passport and let him in. Very cool.
That you're not doing those interviews.
Not at all.
That they're not happening.
You are correct that we are not conducting in-person full refugee interviews of 100% of the individuals.
What percentage are you conducting?
I don't have that information.
What number have been interviewed?
What we are doing.
Wait. What number of the more than 60,000 brought to the country? What number have received an in-person interview before they came to the country? Because you said 100% are screened. So what percentage have been given an actual interview by a trained official before they come to the country?
When you're speaking of a full refugee-like interview, I don't have that data.
By the way, are you following what's happening to people who've been brought to this country? On September 19th, a female U.S. service member was assaulted by a group of male Afghan evacuees housed.
Well, why would that happen? I thought that the moment they cross the American borders, suddenly they become instantly assimilated into American culture. It's not like they would take their relatively backwards perspective on the abuse of women and introduce that into our society. I was literally told that they would leave all the woman abuse in their own country and then come here and then poof, become modern, amazing and moderate American citizens. That's what I heard.
At Fort Bliss. September 5th, a report from your office, the DHS, from U.S. officials at intake centers in Wisconsin identified numerous incidents in which Afghan girls have been presented to authorities as the underage wives of much older men. Other reports.
Yeah, I don't know who actually thought it was like, well, listen, in their culture, they rape children, so we could bring them in with their child wives. I see no issue with that. I mean, to be fair, look, who am I to judge their culture? You know what I'm saying? Like those 10-year-olds are getting culturally enriched, and it's very important that their enrichment should happen overseas as well.
Of assaults and rapes by Afghan men for Afghan girls. These are some of the folks who've been brought here because they haven't been.
Yeah, does that sound like screened and vetting to you? It's like we vetted these people. They've already raped a bunch of women and children, but we vetted them.
Screened because you haven't conducted interviews. Don't you think that's a problem?
There are two things that can happen. They can be criminally prosecuted depending on the reason for their violation.
Mr. Secretary, my time's expired. I've got to turn it over to other senators. I just want to say the fact that you are not conducting the most standard interviews for tens of thousands of people brought to this country is astounding to me.
True.
And it seems to me you've not learned the most basic lessons that we learned on 9/11 since then. And the security risk is unbelievable. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, now 2 people are dead because of it. Aside from who knows how many were, raped or brutalized in other fashions. At least 2. This dude needs to be in jail, man. I don't even know. Like, how is this not treason? Like, literally importing tens of thousands of people into our country. Like, bro, fight them over there so we don't fight them over here. And then we just import tens of thousands of orcs into the Shire without vetting the orcs. If mayhaps those orcs have not acclimated to Western civilization. Mayhaps. So this is Charlie Kirk in 2021. God rest his soul. This was Charlie Kirk in 2021 talking about this.
President Joe Biden's Department of Defense will accept 30,000 Afghan refugees into military installations following the collapse of Kabul. Boom. Political transformation. Let the country crumble. Do you know there's 5 million displaced people in Afghanistan now? This was all intentional. Joe Biden let it fall apart to now say, oh, I'm so sorry. I guarantee you Joe Biden's speech this afternoon will talk about refugee assistance and relocation support.
Yep, he
Now
does.
Joe Biden's going to be
True.
scrambling to make good on it, and the liberal media will love it. They'll say, oh, yes, okay, now I get it. Joe Biden is now fixing his own problem. Joe Biden is stepping up, and he's allowing a flow of people from the Middle East into America. Thank you, Joe Biden. You're such a hero. You're so benevolent. You're so respectful. You're so compassionate. Do you see what's going on here? What's going on here is Joe Biden wants a couple 100,000 more Elon Omars to come into America.
It's crazy how like on the nose he was. And it's crazy how correct this entire analysis is. Yes, destabilize a bunch of countries, import infinite people from those countries, completely and utterly own and buy, through votes, a democracy. This is how democracy crumbles, when you just import infinite voters to vote for you forever. Like, this is like a hostile takeover. So this guy tweeted, Bill Kristol. All right, Bill Kristol, leftoid, obviously extraordinaire. Almost every Afghan refugee will turn out to be a so much better American than Charlie Kirk. Wow, well, that aged really well. Charlie Kirk was murdered by Charlie Kirk was an innocent man that was murdered. And these Afghan refugees are murderers. Not all of them, obviously, but some of them. 6 months ago, an Egyptian national firebombed a vigil of Jews in Boulder, Colorado, after screaming, "Free Palestine" and "Allahu Akbar." Tonight, Afghani national guns down 2 National Guardsmen after screaming, "Allahu Akbar." People are really waking up to a very obvious issue that's kind of really growing in our country. And this is what Trump had to say after all of that. After all that happened yesterday, this is what Trump had to say.
We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country.
Based.
If they can't love our country, we don't want them.
Based. Gloves are off. Trump is done. Trump is done with this. Honestly, I think this radicalized Trump, and I pray that Trump decides to use this as a fire lit under his tuchus to absolutely go draconian on this situation, because the leftoids, they're gonna cuck you at every turn. You have to fight back on this very asymmetric playing field that they have created. All right, they are trying to incite violence against federal officers. Jail them. All right, they're obstructing justice, trying to help illegals get away from ICE. Jail them. They're talking about telling their soldiers not to follow your orders because they call you a Nazi or whatever. Treason. Jail them. All right, we need to actually do things. Otherwise, we're going to get completely and utterly overrun and overwhelmed. The age of men does not die this day. The age of the orc is not starting this day. Deport the orcs from the Shire. They could call you racist, but they can't call you a liar.